If I told you, hey, watch this show about a prince who can't hear or speak try to become a good king, there's a big chance that you aren't going to. To say that this is an anime that's the epitome of a feel-good show might even be an understatement. You see the growth of a young man that makes us feel all sorts of emotions that he feels, and for me, it made me think that he was truly a better person than I was. Because fuck Domas and the citizens of that country. So instead of me making a video telling anyone to watch the show about how Bojji is one of the best characters ever, or how the show is able to properly portray characters as real people with real traits and real emotions, I decided to instead tackle this show from a different angle and talk about the importance of queen mothers in the show and their impact on Bojji. I just want to point out the naming of the queens. The name Sheena in the Bible means God's gift, and when you think about how she was chosen to be the mother of the son that boss had already condemned, you can see that she was truly God's gift to Bojji. Healing on the other hand means to pile up soil on the base of a plant to protect it from frost damage, weeds, and help it grow, so I'm sure you can see the correlation with her as well. Bojji is a young giant that was struck with the misfortune of not being able to speak or hear since birth. But he wasn't born with a wicked heart and was blessed with a mother who loved him uncontrollably and unconditionally. For most of his life, he was constantly ridiculed by the civilians who spared no moment to insult or laugh at him no matter what he did, all while assuming he wouldn't understand them so he wouldn't know what they were saying. To them, they were sure he didn't understand due to the fact that he always had a big smile on his face as he walked through their insults. But there was one thing I'm sure of, and that is usually when you have a safe place you can go to, it serves as an anchor for your heart and gives you peace of mind. For a good chunk of his life, Bojji's anchor was Queen Sheena. Even though we didn't get to see too many scenes of Queen Sheena, the few we got were more than enough to tell us the kind of person she was. She was a gentle giant with a heart as big as she was. After seeing that her son was born with an unusual body, there wasn't even a hint of disgust in her words. All she knew was that she had a son who she would love to the end of her life, which she did literally. So for someone like her to die protecting her son, that was the ultimate showcase of love. After she passed and Boss got a new queen, we could clearly see that young Bojji had closed his heart. The heart that was fully open to his mother was closed probably so he doesn't get hurt again. The one person who loved him more than anything was killed in front of his eyes as he tried to protect him. He actually stood in a pool of his mother's blood as she cried telling him how much she loved him and he could not do anything for her. For someone who wouldn't hurt a fly, there was a lot of adversity in his path and it's a miracle that his heart didn't become dark, and that's how Healing saved him. She saved him without actually knowing it. But as you'd expect for someone as hurt as Bojji, it took a while for their relationship to blossom. It wasn't rosy in the beginning. Bojji spent his young days building sandcastles and playing with animals, well, snakes, and making it a point to always run away from Healing whenever she tried to get close. I don't really blame him because she looked like a good depiction of an evil queen. And just like how the show makes you feel silly for judging it by its cover, I felt silly for judging Healing based off her look. Well, her nose. All they had to do was give her a long nose and I thought she was evil. Now, it wasn't until she showed Bojji that she has a kind heart that he was able to open up to her, and we see how much happier he became because he wasn't alone anymore. Healing herself was not perfect, but in hindsight, you can see that everything she did for his well-being. She was a young woman who was suddenly thrust into being a royal, and not only that, she suddenly had a young disabled stepson. So it makes sense that it would take a while before she gets comfortable with him, and not long after that, she gives birth to her own son, and even though she doesn't hate Bojji, there were moments where she showed a bit of favoritism, but not out of malice. She couldn't see Bojji as someone that the kingdom would take seriously, and she, as a mother, foresaw the hardships he might encounter, so she deemed it best to have Dida take over as king, because it would be easier for him. Her main mistake was not trusting Bojji's potential, but she learned from that along with everyone else. When Bojji went on his journey and fucking Domas pushed him, that was the most pain he had felt in a while, that his mentor wanted him dead. Later on, when he thought about who had chosen that mentor to accompany him, he let himself believe that Healing was part of the plan to get rid of him. And you could see how much his heart was aching. He was scared that he finally opened up to a woman who became his mother, knowing that she wanted him dead. Now, it was wrong of him to think that, but those thoughts were only able to reach him because his relationship with Healing had tarnished a bit after she started letting herself lose faith in his potential to be a good leader. Bojji was a kid whose future was taken away from him by the sins of his father. But what helped him forge his future was the love of his mothers. Bojji didn't have a mom and a stepmom, he had two moms, period. No asterisks, nor ifs, no buts. I strongly believe that the kind of heart that Bojji was born with was inherited from Sheena, but also his ability to not give up and learn to open up was inherited from Healing. Ranking of Kings, like I said, is a show that tries and succeeds in giving you what you never expected when you decided to watch it. It forces you to root for Bojji just so we can see that equilateral triangle smile. And I'm gonna be honest, I was always filled with a sense of joy whenever he said, "Ow!" I can't even do it properly. Or when he breathed hard with a face full of determination. Giving into darkness is easy when life is hard, but allowing yourself to be illuminated by the people around you, no matter your internal struggles, is something that only the strong can do. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you liked what I had to say, and if you're here, please bless me with your engagement as it helps the video. That's it for me today, and I'll see y'all in the next one.